I want to talk about some Western propaganda, some extremely concerning, troubling, toxic Western propaganda. I originally saw this on Twitter, but ultimately it leads to this article from Forbes by a man named David Axe, and it says, Ukraine de-radicalized its extremist troops. Now they might be preparing a counteroffensive. And please note the little image here of them on what he's calling an M113. It really isn't. It's related to an M113. And he's saying this is the 98th Azov Battalion. Just keep that in mind, and I'll get to that in a moment, why that's important. But this is what the article claims. It says, the narrative the Kremlin advances to justify its brutal war on the Ukrainian people, that Ukraine is a far-right Nazi regime bent on destroying Russia, is a lie. So this is Forbes, this is David Axe, and many across the Western media saying, if you hear Russia talking about Nazis in Ukraine, it's just war propaganda to justify their otherwise indefensible invasion of Ukraine. But then the article says, yes, there really are far-right elements in Ukrainian society, but it's unfair to describe Ukrainian military units, even those that originally formed with fringe groups, as right-wing. KIEV deliberately has de-radicalized these units. So now Forbes is admitting, well, maybe they did have a problem, but they've completely de-radicalized all of these units. And then it goes on, and I'll get into how this is all a big lie in just a moment. And then it goes on and it says the 98th Azov Battalion is one of several units that has undergone this transformation. And he's referring to this alleged de-radicalization, even though we're being told that there were no Nazis in Ukraine in the first place. Today, the battalion essentially is indistinguishable from other Ukrainian formations. And this is a huge lie. And we know this is a lie because that image, let's go back to the article. This image is actually from a video. This is a screenshot from a video where several armored vehicles go by the camera. Some of them Ukrainian, some of them from seized from Russia, and some of them sent by the West. And as you're watching this video, it's not an M113, it's actually a Dutch YPR 765. But as you can see, the Azov Nazis on these armored vehicles are giving the Hitler salute. And you can see World War II Nazi Germany crosses on the side of some of the vehicles, and the Azov Nazi Wolfsangel on the side of this vehicle right here. That Wolfsangel is on all of Azov battalions or regiments' uniforms and on their flag. They literally operate under the flag of Nazism. And this is something that the Western media has either tried to spin, distract away from, or just flat out deny. And as David Axe is doing, he is completely lying. He saw this video clip because he also says this. Over time, however, the 98th Azov Battalion, like much of the Ukrainian army, steadily has gotten heavier. It has added M113 armored personnel carriers that Ukraine's NATO allies have donated. So Western equipment, even though the US Congress for years now has put in aid packages that Azov shall not get any US aid because they are extremists, they are Nazis, this equipment is clearly falling into their hands. So he's saying it has added M113 armored personnel carriers that Ukraine's NATO allies have donated. It has captured and put to use Russian BMP fighting vehicles and regrettably painted on at least one BMP a cross similar to the German army's own insignia. And he means the German army's insignia during World War II, Nazi Germany. He, however, omits the Wolfsangel, the Azov Nazi symbol that makes it obviously a Nazi military unit. And it is officially in Ukraine's military. This is not a paramilitary organization. It is officially and has been for a while incorporated in Ukraine's official military. And the Forbes article admits this. It says the 98th Azov Battalion belongs to the Ukrainian Territorial Defense Forces, roughly the equivalent of the U.S. Army National Guard. It's not an independent, separate organization. It is part of Ukraine's armed forces. So this is the Western media, Forbes, David Axe, but many, many others, clearly being aware that Nazism is still prevalent, actually worse than ever in Ukraine right now. They're openly putting Nazi symbols on the side of vehicles donated to them by the West. It has never been this blatant and this bad. And yet they're pretending some sort of de-radicalization process has been undertaken and that this problem is history, when in reality, and as you can see in the video, it is worse than ever. It is actually worse than ever. And they are preying on people's ignorance. People who turn to the Western media to be informed, they know that they're ignorant and that they won't be able to match that photo to the video that it is a screenshot from, and see them actually doing Hitler salutes and scrawling Nazi symbols all over their Western military equipment donated to them. If Russia was only in Ukraine to deal with festering Nazism right on their border, they would be justified to do so. But it's worse than that. It is the West arming, training, and building up this threat, including the threat of Nazism in and among this proxy that the US and its allies have been building up in Ukraine. And this is the reason why Russia is in Ukraine. And for Forbes, David Axe, and others to pretend that Russia has no reason to be in Ukraine, that there are no Nazis, that Russia is just making this up as they have a parade right in front of the camera, it just goes to show you why Russia, and I can't speak for them, but I would assume this is one of the reasons why Russia will not negotiate with the West. You can't talk to people who see Nazis out in the open and pretend they don't exist, and then at the same time are quietly arming and backing them and using them as proxies. In the video description below, I am going to include links to all of these Western articles and videos. A lot of them are from the BBC, but not all of them. And they're from all different years. So this was from 8 years ago. Torchlit march in Kiev by Ukraine's right-wing SVOBODA party. And you'll see the SVOBODA flags, but also the red and black right-wing, right sector, Nazi collaborator flags in the crowd. Torchlit march, just like the Nazis during World War II. Here's another one, BBC NEWSNIGHT, neo-Nazi threat in New Ukraine. So it's not something that Russia is imagining. It's something that the Western media had been covering all of these years. This video is from 8 years ago. This is from 2014, Ukraine conflict, white power warrior from Sweden. You got to read the whole article too. It's much worse than even the headline suggests. Ukraine underplays role of far right in conflict, 2014. And now Forbes and David Axe are underplaying the role of the far right in this ongoing conflict. Here's another one. This is from 7 years ago. The far right group threatening to overthrow Ukraine's government. So it wasn't that the Nazis in Ukraine were just a threat to Russia or Russian-speaking Ukrainians. They were a threat to absolutely everyone in Ukraine, even the anti-Russian puppet regime the US installed into power from 2014 onward. And that is in this BBC video, this one here. Again, the links will be in the video description below. Ukraine's most feared volunteers, and this is 7 years ago, and they're talking about Azov Battalion. Ukraine on patrol with the far-right national militia. This is from 4 years ago. Here, 2020, Ukraine coat of arms and UK anti-terror list furor. And well, this is because they are associated with extremism, and that's why they're on the list. But it's politically inconvenient for London and Washington, so that's why it became a bit of a controversy. Here's another one from Al Jazeera. This is just earlier this year, 2022. Ukrainian fighters grease bullets against Chechens with pig fat. So it goes to show you that Forbes is trying to argue that this de-radicalization began in 2019. This is 2022, and they're still just overtly racist bigots. And finally, and I think this headline says it all, and this is from The Hill, not RT, not TASS, it's from The Hill, and it says, the reality of neo-Nazis in Ukraine is far from Kremlin propaganda. There are indeed neo-Nazi formations in Ukraine. This has been overwhelmingly confirmed by nearly every major Western outlet, just as I was showing you. The fact that analysts are able to dismiss it as propaganda disseminated by Moscow is profoundly disturbing. It is especially disturbing given the current surge of neo-Nazis and white supremacists across the globe. And this is part of the predictable blowback, just as the US was arming and backing Al-Qaeda and ISIS across the Arab world. Now they are backing Nazis in Ukraine, and you're going to have the same predictable blowback. It's going to spill out of Ukraine into Europe, into North America, and beyond. So I just thought I would point this out. I haven't done a video on this topic in a while, although I have in the past. I'll put a link to one of them in the video description below. I had to point this out because it was particularly absurd. You have David Axe at Forbes claiming there are no more Nazis in Azov, and he has a screenshot from a video where they're driving by the camera giving the Hitler salute with Nazi symbols scrawled on the side of their, including Western armored vehicles. I think it's very important for people to be aware of this and be aware of the fact that when Russia says they are in Ukraine to denazify it, they're not imagining that Ukraine has a Nazi problem. It really does, to the extent the Western media has to actively try to cover it up. If you thought this video was useful, please like and share. Think about subscribing. It's free to do, and it helps the channel grow. Check the video description below for other places you can find and follow my work. All of my YouTube videos are automatically backed up on Odyssey and Rumble. I'm on Telegram. I'm on Twitter. All of the links are in the video description below, alongside all of the links that I referenced in this video, as well as for ways you can help support my work. I do not monetize my YouTube channel. If you see an ad pop up, please feel free to skip it. It's not doing me any good. If you do want to support my work, please do so through Buy Me a Coffee and through Patreon. And to everyone who has been helping out, thank you so much. Whether it's month to month or one-time donations, or even if you're just helping share my work with others, sending me news tips, sending me kind words in an email or a kind comment, I greatly appreciate all of that. It all adds up and helps out significantly. So thank you. And as always, thank you for watching.